Great. Hi, Caroline.
Hi.
How is everyone? We'll just kill a few minutes in case anyone else joins. How are you, Dee?
Yeah, I'm busy as ever, Ali. I've got to leave at 1:45, I'm afraid, because someone's coming round at 1:45, but
Okay.
I'll stay till then. Yeah, just lots on. I don't know where the time goes.
Is it the end of your academic year at the moment?
Well, there isn't really an end of the academic year anymore. That's all. That anyone who says that is, I think, not an academic. Yeah, it just goes on. It doesn't let up at all, actually.
Oh dear.
So yeah, it's just a bit relentless. But that's complaining about a very good job, so I shouldn't really do that. It's a bit relentless.
And Caroline, are you in Scotland? I can't remember. I think you've been before, haven't you?
I met you once a couple of years ago, actually. There was a walk from Tilbury.
Oh, okay.
I remember we went to the World's End pub and it went along the front, and I think it was during COVID, so they only allowed like 4 or 5 people.
Ah, okay.
I think I met you then, but I haven't been to any of these online sessions before, so I think it's the last one, isn't it?
Well, we might have a concluding one. It's the last presentation. We'll discuss what we want to do. So are you in Essex then?
I'm in Kent, so I'm in Whitstable.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, we'll do. Dee, would you like to introduce yourself? I thought Caroline had been before because you look familiar.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Hi, I'm Dee. I'm a professor of theatre studies up at the university in Glasgow, at the University of Glasgow, and I've done quite a lot of creative walking work over the last, I don't know, 12, 14 years, in different guises, really, both as a researcher and as a creative artist. Thanks.
Great. Carol, are you still there? No? On mute.
Hi.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
you are. Yeah.
Yeah. I've just I know Ali from the volunteering that Emily and I have done with T100 and also Silk River and the processions as well.
Yeah, that's right. Good. And Joan?
I also volunteer with Kinetika. I help mostly with walking, but anything else they need help with at times.
Good. And as you'll know, I'm Ali, and today I'm going to present on Beach of Dreams. And I know that some of you, you've heard quite a bit of this before, but it's just saying to Joan that I'm going to announce for the first time ever publicly who our commissioned artists are. So, because we're not going to announce them properly until September. And so yeah, so I'm just gonna start because somebody else is we're recording, other people might come. So I'm gonna start and I'm gonna share my screen, which is this one. There we go. And also it's the first time that I'm doing this new Beach of Dreams presentation. So it's very good for me to, oh, no, that doesn't work. Sorry. I thought I could get it to full screen without the sidebar. Oh, damn. Sorry, I'm going to have to find it again now. Just bear with me. All right. All right, is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to get it to full screen though. View, yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe it is. Yeah. There we go. Thank you. All right. So we've got people that are obviously familiar with T100 and the walking, talking, making model that we've sort of pioneered or developed, say, over the last 10 years. So really, what I want to start by saying is that Beach of Dreams, which was piloted in 2021, is going to become a UK-wide coastal arts festival which involves a lot of walking. And but I was and I'm very glad that I've got some Thurrock people in the room because I want to really make a point that we've been developing this this way of working since 2015 in Thurrock. So I'm quite keen to sort of locate where it's come from, and I'm sure Dee, the same as in your work, I always find that one project kind of leads to another and informs another, so it's a continued narrative. And so Beach of Dreams has really been grown, as you'll see, in Thurrock, and is going up from Thurrock as a small local festival to a UK-wide project, which is really exciting for us. It's going to, what is Beach of Dreams? So Beach of Dreams, our ambition is to engage hundreds of thousands of people journeying along the UK coastline, you know, where we can on foot and where we can't by boat, and possibly there will be obviously some online participation as well. But it's a journey, and as I said, it's an ongoing journey that's being developed for the last few years. But it'll take place over a concentrated month, the month of May, which is the National Month of Walking in the UK. And it will be accompanied by an interdisciplinary arts and science program, which will involve artistic interventions, which is what we're concerned with as walking artists. Lots of coastal walks organised by groups, organisations, individuals, lots of journeys by boat, particularly around bits of the coastline that we can't walk, like northwest Scotland. Participatory outdoor arts activity. We're partnering with quite a lot of UK festivals, and we love to include more talks, film screenings, literature, to kind of times in which we can think about what it is that we're doing. And what we are hoping to do, and why we're doing it. So I passionately believe that artists and artistic interventions, working with communities, and in particular in this case through walking, generates an emotional connection to each other, but also to the environment through which we walk. Now, my question, we're going to have a discussion on this after I finished, is, can this enhance emotional connection to the landscape? Can that possibly activate groups to become committed to taking care of their own communities themselves, their health and well-being, take care of their coastline in this instance, and work together towards a healthier, happier, and more sustainable community for future generations? You know, i.e. taking into account our current, you know, landscape, which is, you know, not only a climate emergency, but many other sort of brokenness of our communities. So can this mile-to-mile action make a difference? Answers at the end, or you can ask me questions as we go along. So I'm just going to take you back to where it all began. And in terms of, for me, I wasn't a walking artist before I got to Thurrock. I was aspiring to be a walker when I got to Thurrock, and some rumour had it that I would be leading walks. And so the Public Health Department invited me to walk around Thurrock and start a festival. So actually, that was in 2015, our first festival. And we're very proud to let you know, Dee, since you're all the way in Scotland, that tomorrow we are having our 10th anniversary, and we're having the big flag parade, and we got over 150 flags that we've made over the last 10 years with the communities that have made them, walking into the Afro Food Festival, and it coincides with Windrush. So I thought that was a nice welcoming photo. So the model is, we call it Walking, Talking and Making, and now we run an annual program, and we combine these 3 different strands of activity to create a kind of rich experience. It's not just going on a walk and your kind of weekend off. It's more than that, as we know, as artists. So what's my first lesson that I learned when I was invited to walk around Thurrock was that it is a brilliant tool for engaging communities and getting to know literally mile by mile your local environments. So, and it's quite interesting. I'm just going to note that some of the discussion we had earlier on the seminar, when we were talking with Charlie Fox from Marseille, we were talking about voyeurism, and I think we had a debate. Well, actually, is it, you know, artists can also engage communities and be part of it, integrated into it. So in this instance, it was quite lucky because I knew nothing about Thurrock when I was invited. And so I said, well, I'll have to ask the communities where we're going to walk. And this man, Peter Woodard, said, well, Miss Pretty, there's 162 miles of footpath. And where are you going to walk? And I was like quite amazed, because here we are. This photograph is under the Dartford Bridge, which is the M25 intersection. And we all know that if there's a lorry stuck on that bridge, the whole thing is gridlocked. It's the A13, M25, and everything else, which is a jungle of concrete. So one would be quite surprised that you could walk 100 miles. And so off I went. I was sent off to the communities. And I said, well, where should we go? You tell me 10 miles in your area where we should go. And so they did. And this man, Peter, he mapped our first walk, and we walked 10 miles a day for 10 days. And that was for me like an exercise in total listening, because I really didn't know where I was, and, you know, wasn't familiar with these communities. But also it was an opportunity for people in Thurrock who might normally just do their regular footpaths, but to walk that after they'd done their first 10 miles, they're like, oh, it's quite good, I might go on another one. And so they got to walk in different areas, and the upshot of that was that people learned that there was much more than they ever thought in their local area. And that led us on to our second festival, which was where the talking, I suppose, comes in, which was in 2016. And so we decided to map as many stories of Thurrock as we could, and appreciate. So it was an exercise in sharing knowledge, and we had a lot of heritage groups working with 20 schools. So it was intergenerational, and we created 100 flags and 100 stories. So our methodology is really to, when we're planning a walk, is we usually frame the walk around a question or a theme. And we kind of do the devising of the walks with the local communities. And then we collect, we draw and write, and we draw our stories onto silks. And then we kind of do the public presentation, which is when the people who've kind of collected the stories present to a wider audience. So that's kind of the cycle of in our walking model. We also have a strand, as well as the silk flags, of making. So we've done a lot of different kinds of making of work. And this one in particular was 2018, which was T100 recipes. We were very keen to collect stories from different communities. Thurrock's very diverse, and it's not easy. It's not a comfortably diverse place. And so we wanted to kind of get to as many people as possible to share their stories. So we collected recipes, and we asked people where their recipes had come from, who'd given them, when they'd last eaten that. And we drew the ingredients that made up the recipes, and then we did screen printing and made them into tablecloths. And we carried these tablecloths 200 miles all the way down the estuary and over to Sheppey and all the way back. And Joan was one of the people who did the 200 miles with me. And we shared a lot of food and a lot of stories, but we've done all sorts of other things as well. So these three strands kind of weave quite well together, and they also mean that different kinds of people who don't like walking get involved in the making, and you know, people who walk get surprised at themselves. Joan's quite surprised at herself, I think. You've done so many different things on all of the different walks. Joan, we met in 2017 as a walk leader for the Ramblers in Barking and Dagenham, and now she's many things in T100. So one walk leads to the next, and so I see that we've been building a narrative over the last decade, and a big leap up from our local walks was Silk River in 2017. We were invited to reimagine India, and there was a kind of call out for projects, and I happened to be very connected in Kolkata. And I was thinking, you know, my experience in Thurrock has been that it's like, in fact, somebody said to me, it's like being in the backstage of London. So when you go along the Thames estuary, it's like you've got all the services that it takes to kind of feed and build and run a city. And then I thought, oh, that's kind of similar in Calcutta, and they're both connected by this river. So why don't we sort of map these communities on the edge of London, 10 of them, and why don't we twin them with a place in West Bengal. So there were some very obvious examples, like Kew Gardens is connected to the Botanic Gardens, and there's still an existing relationship between scientists. And you know, Gravesend wasn't so much Bengali, but it was Sikh. So we were talking about Indian diaspora, and we sort of made some connections, some of which were historic, and then some which became new. And when I originally started thinking about walking as an artist, the thing I was most interested in was about how we could have an unfolding conversation by walking in continuous days of walking, and how we might you know, introduce a provocation around a theme on those days of walking. So you might have, well, you have the local people, but in this case we were looking what is it that makes living by the river, is that a thing? You know, you live by the river, and what does that mean? And so we were having a conversation about the river, and then we were also having a conversation that river was a trading river connecting India and Britain, and so we were looking at that was our particular theme. And it also is for me about well, we can share that conversation. This was really important in this project, because when we were walking the Thames, obviously we weren't able to walk with all the artists that we did work with in India, but we were able to share the stories every day online. And so you can reach your audience and your other participants. And so obviously digital evolves very quickly all the time, and it's a fantastic tool to widen and deepen your stories and your conversation. And so with that in mind, I worked with Kevin Rushby, who's a Guardian journalist, and who I'd met on a masterclass. And I thought I was looking for a sort of novelist or a sort of author. And they kept saying, no, I'm not interested in doing all this stuff with community. But when I got back in touch with Kevin, he was like, oh, that sounds amazing. I'll write a daily blog. And so that's what he did. And on day 8, we walked from Tilbury to East Tilbury, and we came across this part of the estuary, which is between Tilbury and East Tilbury, and a particularly scruffy bit of Thames estuary. But on this day, late September 2017, it was shining, and Kevin rushed up in great excitement and was like, Ali, what is this beach? Why is it so shiny? So I was like, well, it's shiny because this is all bits of broken glass. And why is that? And I said, well, because you know, don't you know, Thurrock's a dump. They dump lots of things here all the time. And this particular dump is from the Blitz from 1945. And as the tide eats up at the foreshore, it loosens the mud, and the bits of glass and bottles and ceramics plates wash up. And so he wrote that evening, what dreams were shattered when the bomb went off? This is the beach of broken dreams. So sometime later, I was like, oh, that's the line of my next walk. It's a bit of a gift of a line, but where is the beach of dreams? So I was like, well, because it was this started in 2016, just after we voted to leave, and Thurrock was one of the highest places to vote to leave. And I just felt, well, like, we're just so fragmented in our communities, and we've got this kind of broken foreshore, all those fragments lying on our foreshore. But what would happen if you picked up each one of these glistening, shiny gems, and each one of them contains something beautiful, whether it's within ourselves, within our communities, or on our landscape? And what would happen if you picked them up and put them together to create a different kind of vision for the future? And with that, we started Beach of Dreams, and we invited people to sign up for a local mile on a 500-mile stretch of the East Coast, and to stand on that mile, stand on a particular bit, and look and think about what was beneath their feet, and think about, well, what is it that connects me here to this particular spot on this particular mile, and why am I connected to it? And whether that's because of my family connections or historical connections, or the place of beauty or a place of loss, you know, people would find a connection. And we asked them to write about that. And then we asked them to look out as far as they could see on the horizon and imagine the future for this mile for their great grandchildren, and write about that. And so this is a model that we've been developing since 2021, and the model that we're going to take forward into a national call to action. And what's going to be additional in 2025, we're going to go, and what are you going to do about it? and I'll invite people to make a pledge. And we use this downloadable resource pack where people can send us their answers, the forms and the drawings, and then from that we create the silk pennants that have become synonymous with Beach of Dreams. So each one of these is somebody's dream, and we've got 620, and this will be the national call out for organisations that want to get involved and create more, ever evolving artwork and an ever evolving collection of dreams and pledges. So we'd like to get to at least 1,000. And these, I was hoping we might have some international guests, because I think this model could very much be echoed in any coastline in the world. I wanted to sort of talk just a little bit about the silk, because I think it's the thread that connects all of these things together. So when we were journeying up the Hooghly in Calcutta, before that time, I used to work on mass-produced Chinese silk. But obviously, when we were going up the Hooghly, I was thinking, might cause a bit of a problem if I'm working in Chinese silk. And Korak, my partner at the time, was like, we're going up to Murshidabad, Ali. And I was like, that's just miles away. It's way too far away to walk. Oh, we'll get a boat. But anyway, there's silk weavers up here. So we were like, oh, okay, that's different then. And so we worked with this village in Murshidabad since then. So ever since then, they wove the silk for us for Silk River, and they had to weave it specially because the quality had lessened, and they were sneaking in Korean nylon every now and then. And so we were like, no, it has to be 100% silk, because it won't work. And so it was such beautiful silk that then ever since then to this day, we are only working on Murshidabad silk, and we import it and we distribute it. And we have transformed the lives of the families, 14 families in that village. And we've got still a long way to go in terms of thinking about how we can improve the conditions, get women more involved, but we've made a start. And so we kind of think that this is really a thread that will connect everything together, as into Beach of Dreams. So that was the installation in Lowestoft, which was a very beautiful day when people came back. So what we did is after we produced these silks in our studio in lockdown, and then we started walking for 500 miles, and we would give Dee, this is your mile 47, tell us your story. And it was really powerful in the collection of the stories. And so, we got back to East Tilbury, beach is still broken. And I was like, no, off we go to Scotland to walk from Edinburgh to Glasgow to COP and demand that these dreams are heard. And it was really, so I'm very pleased that the big idea was formed in Scotland, of course, with these climate activists and pilgrims that had come from all over Europe. Were like, they could see, that there was a real connection. Even when we went into Glasgow, into George's Square, even though these people weren't the people that carried their flags, there was a concept that these are people's dreams, and that they could see that this was a really good emotional engagement tool. And so they were like, well, why don't you do this elsewhere, Ali? So I was like, okay, well, let's do it nationally. So that's what we've been building up to do for the last few years. And last year we were in Morecambe Bay, not 21, 23, and we made another 120 silks and engaged more people. And then finally we've been successful to get an Arts Council national grant to ramp this right up. And so part of the ramping it up is to invite small organizations. So last time it was individuals who adopted a mile, but I really wanted it to be organizations. People are perhaps participate more easily with an organization, and also then we can get a national network of organizations, either arts or environmental, that are getting active. And by working with organizations, you secure a legacy. So hopefully once they've been through Beach of Dreams in 2025, there will be this network, and there'll be a legacy of a kind of joined up UK. Can you imagine? And so there is an entry fee, which is £210, including VAT. And for that, you get to your very own silk pennant. You get to make your pledge, which is shared on our digital platform. You get to attend monthly seminars. Each seminar is on a different environmental theme, and we're going to invite keynote speakers and some of the people in the regions where those themes are pertinent. And you get to organize your own coastal walk and be connected to hundreds of others. So hoping that we'll get hundreds of members. We've got about 20 at the moment. Quite a good uptake from Fife in particular in Scotland. And quite a lot on the southeast, but as of Monday, we're going on a massive recruitment campaign. And so the silks we see as the national commission, and from which 8 other commissions will be created. And so we're going to be having a national artist residency with those commissioned artists in Morecambe Bay in July. And the idea is that while everybody has their own practice, I would like to see it that it's a collection of works that it becomes a collective body. So there is interconnection between the artists and between the regions and the work. And that is already beginning to happen, as I will explain. So we're starting, and this is hot off the press. Joan's going to be writing her notes. We're starting in Thurrock, of course, on the 3rd of May, 2025, and we're working with Rahman, who's a British Bengali fashion designer and textile artist. And I have to confess that the original 500 Beach of Dreams silks were put up in Seaford in the southeast coast in September, and they were left up uncared for and battered by wind and rain, and they were shredded largely. So we've had to remake a new set, but luckily we had the design. So but we had the idea of actually making something from the shredded silks and to repurpose it. And so we're going to be working with Ray's got his own sewing group called Inspire, which is South Asian women based in East London, and we're partnering with our sewing group, or based in our studio, called Kite Spirit, who are based on the Thames. And then we're going to work with 10 other sewing groups along the estuary, and we're making these small boat structures, and there's 12 panels, and we're going to use embroidery from different traditions, different Bengali traditions, but different traditions from around the world. And we're going to go for walks with the sewing groups at different parts of the river, and we're going to be using that landscape for conversation and to design the detail on each one of those panels. And we're also going to be making a large carnivalesque costume, and we'll be exploring further the use of natural dyes. And then on the 10th of May, we've got Jason Singh. Do you know Jason and Jason's work? No, I haven't worked with him. He's a sound artist and beatboxer, DJ, but of late he's been doing, the last few years, he's been doing these deep listening walks in the environment, and he's been tuning in to the sound of in micro landscapes and recording those sounds, and then mixing them up, sometimes DJing them, sometimes installations. And he's going to be working on Colwyn Bay, 3 days in Colwyn Bay, and with a community company called Tape, who do digital media and filming, and they're already working on a pilot for a feature film called Below the Waves. So I'm sensing that there might be some underwater recordings that are going to be happening there. So yeah, so that's in Colwyn Bay, and he's also I think he's going to get involved in some other aspects of the project, which I'll talk about later. And then in the northeast, we're working in South Shields on Sandhaven Beach with a partner called Stronger Shores, and they are concerned with how they can use nature to protect the coastline. And they're engaging lots of communities already, but what they really want us to engage with is the fishing community. We're working with Tessa, who's a fantastic photographer, and Sarah, who's a walking artist and writer. And they're going to be working quite a micro level with the fishing community there, looking at their practice and the future of fishing, and here's something else, and creating photographic stories and leading walks there. And that's on the 11th of May. And then Why has it got stuck? There we are. Then we're off to not Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland, and we are going to be working with Beat Carnival, who are based in Belfast, but are going to be prioritising their work along the County Down coast, and they are going to be doing a new piece of work called Our Siren Song, which is going to be a new song, will become the Beach of Dreams song, working with communities along that coastline, and also creating some new puppets and a big procession along the beach, resulting in big bonfires, which is a tradition where you can burn in the end of the year you burn the things you want to get rid of, and we're going to burn the things that we should stop doing. So they'll have some mega event on the beach on the 17th of May. Then we're zipping back over to Fife in Scotland, and on the 24th of May, around about that, will be the culmination of their 10-day walk. They're going to be walking for 10 days along the Fife Coastal Path, and they're going to be walking with Julie Brooke. And Julie's been creating some extraordinary work with fire and water and rock in Orkneys, Jura, and she's now spending this summer in the Outer Hebrides, but she also works internationally, Nepal, Japan, some of the recent places she's worked. And I'm not sure how big a piece she'll be doing, but the Fife Coast and Countryside Trust are really keen for her to work more in the industrial area of the Fife Coastal Path, around Dunfermline, Orchard, so to kind of work against it in that landscape. And she says she doesn't know what she's doing because she doesn't know until she walks it, which is absolutely understand. And she talked a lot, I went to a talk of hers recently, about when she's in the landscape and so moving her rocks around and setting up a studio underneath a cave, she feels that's when she feels most in her element, and the work kind of makes itself. And I love that concept, and I've asked her to kind of think about, what does it mean to be in our element? And for each of us, that's probably a different thing. For me, I was totally in my element walking 500 miles for the Beach of Dreams, and I would like to explore that concept, because perhaps if we spent more of our lives being in our element, we'd be happier. So yep, and then we have Hastings, and we're working with Anders Lustgarten, who I am going to meet next weekend. Very exciting. He's a very radical playwright, and he's just written his first novel called Three Burials, and he looks at migration, people landing on the foreshore in the small boats. And Hastings is a place of shipwrecks, so there's been a lot of broken dreams on that foreshore. And so we're going to be walking with refugee and asylum seeker communities and others who live in Hastings but possibly don't ever access the beach. There's been a lot of gentrification in Hastings, which means the beach becomes a place that isn't accessible. But also before that, there's been high amount of crime, drug dealing, that kind of thing on the beach. So it's about how that coastline becomes accessible, and the stories against that backdrop. So he's going to be finding the people, talking to people, and then writing a kind of Beach of Dreams tales for Hastings, inspired by the Canterbury Tales. And then that will be a 3-day walk, hearing those tales from local performers, probably, or local people who have thought about how they present their work in that kind of way. So very interesting there. And then we go to Great Yarmouth for the finale event with Out There Arts, who are based in Great Yarmouth and have an annual festival called Out There, and do a lot of international circus work. And we're going to be working with a French company called Mozo, who are based in Sète in the south of France. And they will install themselves on the beach for a week, as it's May half term, and they work with families and communities to build these phenomenal structures. And we're going to be attaching silks to the structures, and we're going to have a massive procession onto the beach, and projections and other things. And this is director Joe McIntosh. It's never small when you're working with Joe. So we're going to be bringing communities from Harwich, Great Yarmouth and Orford Ness together, because we're doing a bit of work with Historic England to collect stories from them. So that's the finale in May, but we have an international finale in Weymouth in September, September the 20th. And this is working with the International Commission with Jaya Chandran, who I've been working with recently in Bengaluru. They've got a Centre for Movement Arts there. And a lot of his work is inspired by the martial arts form of Kalari Payattu, which is from Kerala, South India. And they do a lot of stick work. So he's been looking at the theme of displacement, population displacement. It was inspired by the sad fact when Prime Minister Modi, President Modi, said to all the people, the migrant workers during COVID, go home, and the only way they could go home was to walk. And it was the biggest sort of movement of people. It's bigger than partition, of people that were walking home hundreds of miles, and many sort of died on the way. So he created a piece, Ajiva Pravaha, that we worked on. And now we're going to develop that piece, the concept of climate migration. The sticks that they use is stick work. And so Jai was like, well, what could I do if I stuck one of your silks on the end of one of these sticks? And his dances are amazing. So has done some really fantastic choreography, movement-based work. So we should have 1,000 silks by then. And we're working also with a UK-based choreographer, Charlene Lowe, working with lots of local movement groups in Weymouth. Some might be martial arts, some might be football teams. And there's also going to be an iteration of this beforehand in Wandsworth, because you all know that London has a beach. Not, but Wandsworth is going to be a London Borough of Culture. So we're going to be doing this piece both in London and in Weymouth and in Bengaluru and in Goa. So it's and what's happened in terms of trying to develop this has gone to the British Council. We don't know if we're successful. It will happen in the UK even if we're not successful, but in the pulling together the British Council bid, Jai was saying, oh, I've got these really massive drums from Kerala, but I don't think I'll be able to get them on the plane. So maybe we could record them. And I said, well, we'll need to have a soundscape. Maybe you should have a chat with Jason. So I introduced Jai to Jason, and, absolutely fantastic. So, I can see that already there's a dialogue going on between this team of artists. I'm really hopeful that we'll create quite an impact on the people who we work with and on ourselves and the communities that interact with it. So that's my pitch. And I'm really hoping that we'll get a lot of uptake nationally, at least, and maybe sometime internationally. So that's the plan, and I'm really happy to hear your questions, thoughts, responses to that.
That's amazing, Ali. It's so ambitious and large.
I know.
Don't know how you've done it.
I don't know how I'm going to survive it, that's for sure. But anyway,
it's amazing. It's quite a short time, isn't it? Like May 25. Anyway, it's brilliant. I just love the scale of it, and that it's connecting all these communities to coastlines and seas, and it's very inspiring. So it's nice to hear all the different range of artists and practices, and they're not all like walking artists in a way, are they? They're sort of bringing different art forms into that walking space.
yeah.
And some of our, so it's really great. I wish you all the best with that. It's fantastic. I look forward to seeing how it unfolds and how you build it together in its complex trajectories. I guess it's all trajectories that do interconnect and cross over, and new connections are made. So lovely, well done, exciting.
Well, I've got to hear anyway. It's you can imagine that it's kind of like 24/7 in your head. So I have to keep going for walks to calm myself down.
Yeah, I know, I can imagine. It's brilliantly big, but it's great. Thanks for sharing that. It's so lovely to hear all about it. Also lovely to hear, I guess, like projects don't just start, do they? They emerge.
Yeah.
literature. So it's nice to have heard the sort of lead up story of, you know, years before that to get to this point as well. So I think we forget that. So thanks for sharing that too.
Great. Well, I hope that you know, walking artists will get involved and kind of do their own thing within the framework. So I really tried hard when we were thinking about it to think, how can people have their own ownership of their miles and their work and their own expression of it, but how you then hold it all together as a thing. Yeah. So I hope that works, and I'd really like to, you know, reach groups that don't interact with artists, but artists to reach groups that they, you know, haven't maybe worked with and walked with before. So, yeah. And Joan?
Wow, I'm almost speechless. It sounds even more exciting than I was expecting it to be. So, well done, it's fantastic. And, you know, I always have enjoyed the combination of walking that I'm familiar with art, which I don't know so much about, but this is all different forms of art in all different places. So I think it's going to be great. I hope to be involved in some respect.
I expect you'll be very involved then. Yeah. So I'd like to say that Joan is coming to the World Trail Network conference in Ottawa. So we'll be representing Thoric in Ottawa. So hopefully we'll rub off some magic over there. Yeah. Thank you.
I was going to ask you, are the walks themselves just kind of the moment of the walk? Are they kind of ephemeral, or are the walks recorded in any way? Are the routes recorded, or the conversations that happen at certain places, are they marked in any way, or does the walk just kind of ebb away afterwards?
Well, there'll be a massive ramping up of social media and digital platforms. So in Beach of Dreams 2021, we had the daily blog from Kevin, and I'm going to be interested to see how it works this time, because his involvement and the daily blog was really drove the narrative, because everybody was like on tenterhooks about who's he going to write about today, and you know, it would come out, you know, after being writing away, drinking his beer in his camper van, he'd publish it at midnight. He could never go to bed, and then everybody was like, "It's out! Who's gonna?" You know, so it meant that people who'd walked on day one, who didn't make it to day 35, were just like were hooked, like it was a soap. And we won't necessarily be able to do the same thing in just a sort of consecutive way. Bye, Dee. See you soon. But I think there will be, you know, so there are those 8 regional partners will be doing their own walks, and some of them are 10 days or whatever. So I think that will kind of happen in the same way. And then we also got digital micro commissions, they're called. So that we'll be making a film in each one of those 8 places, short film, which is by and with the community that is being engaged. So for example, the sewing groups in Thoric, we're going to have 12 sewing sessions, which are going to be like sewing circles, where the different groups come together, and we're going to do a kind of theme of a conversation, maybe around where those groups come from in every session, and then we'd record that. So we want to get the voice from the inside as well, and so that will be cut together, and so those digital films will probably be screened, you know, during the festival online, and then there'll be a sort of documentary that gets cut all together. So I know, I'm sure that there'll be photographs, and this time Kevin says we're writing a book. So we're doing a book, Ali. So this time Kevin's going to do 10 blogs at different points of the year, so probably like one a month, so we can see the unfolding of that. So it's beachofdreams.org. There's a platform. I'm doing a post every day, 366 days from June the 1st. And they're not very long posts, but I'm just trying to, I didn't record when I went to Salt River, and I was like really regretted it. So even if it's like I've had a really crap day, you know, it's just like the journeys, or I'm now on this beach, and just to try and connect it. And then Syra, who's not here, she's going to be posting some of the stories of 2021, and then we'll be posting what people do, like if they're doing litter picks or different actions on the beaches. We'll be trying to basically shine a spotlight on the positive things that people are doing around the coastline, and connect that up to a wider story. So yeah. Yeah. Carol, are you still there? Do you want to say anything? Oh, maybe she's not. Yeah. Any other questions?
Hi, Ali. It's Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Yes, I just had to tell Emmy to mute her a bit a minute. We're really excited about the textile element of it next year.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah, because Emily loves textiles. She's she brought some of that into her illustration degree course as well. Yeah,
Oh.
so quite excited for that.
Would you be able to come to the studio to do that, do you think?
Yeah, we might be able to. Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, yes, I think it'll kick off in October.
All right.
First, and Joan's leading a walk on the 21st of July, but we can post about that on, I know you probably wouldn't be able to do the walk, but we're going to walk from Rotherhithe, aren't we, Jones? From where Rotherhithe to
starting at Tower Hill and crossing the river and going into Rotherhithe.
Yeah. And so I think Ray's group, the South Asian women are going to come, some of them come with us on that.
Okay.
And then we'll devise another one along the estuary, like Kite Spirit can come. So yeah, no, it's good. It's good, and thank you for being here, my elite audience. So I feel that I can perhaps pitch it now to others. So yeah, good. I think, is there anything else at this point, or so it's recording. I'm going to stop the recording and then we'll